Hello, it is RBB. Today in Photoshop, I would like to show you how easy it is to create and save and change and all that kind of good stuff, some storyboard panels. Now, real quick, just to make sure everybody's clear what a storyboard is almost like a comic book that you can see here on screen that tells the story beats of some kind of film. So if I'm making an animation or a film or a music video or an instructional video, whatever, it's the pre-planning that basically tells the story as a visual and then, and it shows what's going on. Generally, you share this with a group of people. You can easily rearrange these things. Let's move that scene later. Take that scene out. They're disposable, basically. You just can rip them off the wall, write on them, rearrange them. I like working old school with storyboards for exactly that reason. If you're working with a group of people, you're generally in a room just like this, and people can write on them and move them around and all that kind of stuff. But if you're working digitally and you're not in the same room, you probably aren't working with physical papers or templates like that. So go away. Just to show you how we could create digital versions of this, there's millions of templates out there, but it's very easy to create this in Photoshop, and I think really quite versatile. I'm going to show you how to make these and also how to export them into useful files that you can use in any program you want to. Okay, so first of all, when we are setting up our drawing, our storyboards, we want to make sure that we're drawing in the correct format. So if I'm planning a video that needs to be filmed vertically, my storyboard will be sideways, right? I would make sure that I'm drawing vertically because there's no sense in planning something widescreen if it's going to be shown vertically, or if I'm showing it on 4:3, old school square television. So when we're setting up a new document in Photoshop, we have, of course, our choices as we always do across the top. And if you choose film and video, you can set it to whatever the parameters are of your video. So like 1920 by 1080. Now this is just 16:9 aspect ratio. It's just widescreen. So it doesn't matter if you're working in 4K or 8K or whatever. It's the same aspect ratio. So 1920 by 1080, 16:9, 2K, whatever you want to call it, works just fine. It's the right aspect ratio. So now I have a document that is the right size and layout. Now you might say, RBB, what's that green stuff? Well, the green stuff are called our guides, and these are called Safe Action and Safe Title. You've probably seen them in lots of video programs and editing programs and things like that because they're helpful guides that are sort of standard that tell us where to be careful when we place things. So we have an inside box and an outside box. The outer box is your safe action, and it's just a guide saying if you want anything to be really important on screen, don't put it on or past this line. So if something really important, a clue or something, you don't want it to be way over here on the edge. We want it inside safe action. And safe title is the same thing. Any words on our screens, any captions, any closed captioning, titles, anything like that, we want to make sure that they're inside the safe title. So safe action, safe title just gives us a guide, and you kind of get used to sort of knowing where that is, but it doesn't hurt to have that guide, especially if you want to sort of push things to the edge. So when I created just like a quick mock-up storyboard, I imagined that there's this, Bastille kind of prison-y thing like in Count of Monte Cristo up on the hill, and that we're on a much closer ridge overlooking this very intimidating castle-y thing. Now remember, these are not great drawings. They're not supposed to be. Don't waste your time making great drawings because just like we showed you, I became plural, just like I showed you, these are disposable. You can pull one off the wall, rip it up, throw it away, put up a new one. So I don't want drawings that have taken me 20 minutes per frame. Okay, these are lovely. They don't even have to be nearly this detailed. Okay, but those are great. All right, so I just mocked up this little sort of Bastille looking scene, and maybe this is my establishing shot. So we can hear the waves, the moon's out, like that's a creepy place up on a hill. Creepy. Maybe there's guards walking around, but this is my establishing shot, okay? And so I named it Scene 1, Moonlit, and maybe it's called Establishing Shot. Okay, so there you go, drew one. So then I wanted to push this to the background for a little bit. So I faded it so that when I draw my next images and I know in my film or movie, this is still going to be my background. To me, it makes sense to leave that background up. So let's say that some hidden figure comes in from the right. Somebody comes running in, you know, oh, this is the way it's going in the animation. Oh, what's going on? Oh, I have to escape. All right, this person comes running in. So in my storyboard, my first panel might be they're right here on the edge, and then furtively maybe they switch back and forth. So maybe when like, oh, of course not switch. So I could flip them back and forth if I wanted to. Make sure I'm on the right layer. I could flip it horizontally and make the person like look back and forth. Okay, but they're transparent. See, this is a transparent layer. If I turn this off, it's a transparent layer over this background, so I can see how it looks in my scene. Okay. So because it's digital and I can move it, if I show this to my peers and they're like, no, it'd be creepier if it was over to the side, watch that safe action, right? It'd be creepier if they crept in from, you know, lower, or they crept in from further away, whatever. Okay, we decide that's where this person's creeping in. Okay, then out of the darkness comes, you know, a guard. Who goes there? Oh, he's a Knight Templar or something. I don't know. Okay, who goes there? And then, oh my, this person, oh no, maybe they shrink back. Okay, every time that we have a new scene, like that's the and then this person backs up, you know, as if to run away. And then the guard says, stop. Okay, that's another scene. Okay, so we've got all these different layers that are very easy to change. If our person, we don't care that this guy is goofy looking because it's going to be replaced with an actor. It's just where are they on the screen? Do they look better there? Is it better if like they came out of the darkness here? We'll move our hooded figure back over. We can decide on the placement of these things very quickly. And if in the storyboard people change their mind, no big deal. We open up Photoshop, move the guys around, and re-export, which I'll show you in a second. Okay, so that happens, and then we move to an over the shoulder where the guard's like, who is that? And this person goes to reveal their hood, and then it's the princess. Oh my God. Okay, so we could do this all day long. These are just our, you know, whatever our story beats are going to be. So when we have them all turned on at one time, you can see over here in Photoshop that I have them all labeled. This is my over-the-shoulder hooded, over-the-shoulder reveal, guard, stop, just the guard, hooded figure, scene one background, okay? Label your layers, otherwise this is going to be a pain in the butt later. If I don't want to see when I'm drawing, because sometimes these guides can get in the way, if I don't want to see them, remember in view, that's what am I looking at? I can always turn off the extras or Control H to hide those. But it doesn't hurt to, especially if I'm making a video, to see that safe action, safe title. Okay, so I'm all done and I want to export this now. I've got everything labeled. I'm going to make sure that I save my Photoshop document, because we want to work non-destructively. So we want to make sure that we have a backup so that when, not if, but when the other people in our group are like, oh, can you go back and make that different? Then you can easily open the Photoshop document and do that. Okay, so boom, save as, save our Photoshop document. To get these guys out of here as individual digital stills that you can bring into After Effects or Premiere or any number of editing programs, to do that easily, let's look at the hard way first. This is the old school, the way I used to do it when I had to walk up the hill to the computer at the top of the hill in the snow. If you turned off any layer you didn't want, you'd flatten this image, you'd save it as a PNG, then you'd undo the flatten and you'd go to the next one, okay? Flatten this image so it wasn't gigantic. We've talked about that in files before. And do the same thing over and over, okay? Each one of these layers. So that took forever. We don't want to do that. So what we can do is we're just going to make all of those active. And you're going to say, oh my God, that is so easy. If we go to File and to Export, we want to export our layers to files. What? RBB, are you telling me that I don't have to save those individually? I can just tell Photoshop to do it? Yes. So if I say Layers to Files, it's going to bring up a dialog box that says, okay, where do you want me to put these? Because I can do that for you. We want to make sure that we have a folder, a destination. We don't want to just throw these on the desktop or, in a jump drive or somewhere, because we want to work, logically and make sure that our folder structure and stuff follows the rules of our studio or project. So when I browse for where do I want to put these, I have a folder. What does I say? Conveniently labeled a storyboard for an awesome film. So that's where I want these guys to go. So it's going to go into my, I set it up for my documents and into a folder, awesome film. Now the file name prefix, that means it's going to save each of these as an individual file with the prefix, in this case, Untitled 1. Well, that's not helpful. I could name it Scene 1 or whatever your naming convention is for your film. If you're working with a group of people, you probably have an established naming convention, so everybody saves things the same way. Let's say that mine is, this is Scene 1. So anything I'm saving for Scene 1 just has the prefix S1. Now it'll be S1 OTS Reveal, S1 OTS Hooded, S1 Guard Stop. Okay, it's going to save each file like that without untitled, which is silly. Visible layers only. If I have ones I don't want, I probably should have cleaned them up and thrown them away, but I could say visible or not. And then I want to use PNG 24. If I choose JPEG, the choice for transparency is going to go away. Now, let's say I don't have transparency and I don't care, and I want these to be really small. That's fine. I'll save them as JPEGs. I don't even care about putting it up to 12 for quality, because these are basically just disposable visual guides. But because mine does have some transparency, I'm going to use PNG 24. And I'm going to make sure transparency is on. I'm not going to worry about these. ICC is the International Color Consortium, which sounds like something from Willy Wonka. We don't care about the color, so it doesn't really matter, but you can always include that and say run. Now what should happen, although things are running a little slow earlier, is, I'm actually going to pause in a second. Normally it goes quite quickly, and Photoshop will go broop, 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 and save each one. So I'm going to pause for just a second so you don't have to sit there and wait. You'll see that it's going through the different layers. We're all just recovering from a hurricane, and I imagine that lots of things are running slow, whether it's the internet or Adobe or whatever. Okay, so it finished, and normally it goes very quickly, but that took about, I don't know, 30 seconds or so, so I paused it. So you'll get this script alert, export layers to files was successful. Yay! You'll probably notice as it was saving things that, as usual, I spelled everything wrong. Like, I think it's going to be my signature when I'm all super famous, is that, if it's spelled right, it probably wasn't me. Like hooded has like 14 O's and a random N at the end. Yeah, so it's like my signature. Okay, so there we go. These guys were saved successfully. And now in my documents folder, here we go, in documents, in a storyboard for awesome film, you can see that these guys all saved as PNGs. Of course, I could view them different ways. I could view them as a list or whatever, however you think, but there they are. They're all saved as PNGs. So that's great. All right. So if somebody wants to make changes at this point, we can simply open the Photoshop document, come in here and say, oh, you know what? They don't like this drawing right here. For some reason, they hate that guy. They want to have a 4 guards or something else. We need to draw something. No problem. I will just delete that layer, put in a new guide, save that individual file, and keep going. So it's very easy to create digital storyboards. My couple of, I guess, caveats or warnings or suggestions are keep it simple. This is not beautiful works of art. These just need to visually show the cinematography, maybe the camera angles, significant events. If it's extra stuff, we don't need it. We don't animate this part. This is just visually what's happening. So keep it simple, and yeah, can't get a whole lot simpler than this. All right, I hope that was helpful. If you guys have any questions or suggestions or anything you'd like me to cover, please ask me in the comments. I will try to make sure to do that. And I will see you guys soon. Be well.